I see we have Bonnie, Laura, and Maureen. So hello, and thank you for joining us. Today's session is on final reporting for the First Nations Wellbeing Fund. My name is Amy Every, and I'm a project officer here at the First Nations Public Service Secretariat. I am Mi'kmaq on my father's side and Irish, mostly Irish on my mother's side. My home community is Ukpiganjik Nation, which is in New Brunswick. However, I have been in BC for over 30 years now, and today I'm joining you from the traditional and unceded territories of the Samiamu, Kwantlen, and Katzie Nations. Yesterday I did it a little bit differently, but I think today I might just pass it over to you, Mia and Jara, to just introduce yourselves. We do have a couple other people here today from FNPSS supporting the session. Who wants to go first?
I'll go first.
Okay.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Jara Ford. I am the manager of corporate services with FNPSS. I've been here for just about 2 years on a program called Interchange Canada, which so I'm technically a federal government employee and sort of on loan to FNPSS for a few years. So bringing over some of my skill sets from that federal lens, but having an opportunity to really learn and see what's happening in First Nations organizations. And it's been such a privilege for me to be a part of the Wellbeing Fund. I think it's been one of the most rewarding pieces of my job, because as an accountant, I generally just see stuff behind the scenes. But having said that, I will say that I'm going through my second round of reporting to ISK on the funding that FNPSS receives. So I feel the pain of reporting, and I've experienced it, and I want to say that Amy and I have kept that in mind when trying to develop the reporting that's required for the Wellbeing Fund. Anyway, sorry, I'm going on too long. I am currently located, so I grew up on Vancouver Island, spent over 30 years of my life there. My husband was military, he's retired just this past September, and we moved to Castlegar. So I am currently joining you from the traditional and unceded territories of the Sinixt, the Ktunaxa, the Secwepemc, and the Syilx. And it's been a real privilege, honestly, to explore this area. Yeah, and that's me. I'm excited to be here.
Thanks, Jara.
Hi, everybody. My name is Mia. I'm a program assistant here at FNPSS. I've been here for about 6 months. So yeah, that's been nice. And I am First Nations from Siska First Nation, and I am currently residing in Abbotsford, where I've been for a long time. Yeah.
Great. And I mean, why don't we just continue on with the introductions? How about Bonnie?
Kisak Wishna, who got click and a smack numbatki, Sukir Dokinik and Walker Kunanik Dinacha, who got Gachi Akam. My name is Bonnie Harvey, and I'm the governance coordinator here at ACAM. I'm excited to see, and hopefully have been spending and allocating these funds properly, and that looking forward to seeing everybody's progress and being able to share in the future, and having that connection with the work that we've been doing, and so that we're able to continue to build our network. And I've been able to expand the governance work that I've been doing here at ACAM, and through this funding and connecting with the youth through the Guardians in Training program that we've established here at ACAM. So, thank you.
Great, thanks. Yeah, I think it's kind of nice, because as much as the session is about reporting, one of the great things about reporting is that you get to really see what kind of impact the project would be having in your community. You get to share that with your membership, and you get to celebrate the successes. So that's great. Yeah. Laura.
Hi everyone, my name is Laura Hillis. I am a settler with mixed European ancestry, Irish, Austrian, and English on both my mom and dad's side. I work with an organization called Beringia Community Planning, and we have been supporting Seidel Nation of the Silcotin Nation with an update and implementation plan for their health plan, their community health and wellness plan. And it's been a great project. It's been lots of fun. It's been we also helped them develop their community health and wellness plan. And so it was great to receive this funding and go back into the community and do further engagement about implementing and updating it and celebrating the progress they had made even just in the year and a half since they developed the original plan. So yeah, I'm here today because I'll be helping with their final reporting. Some of you at FNPSS may have been in touch with Paula Hay, my colleague, who I think she technically registered for this session, but I'm going to attend on her behalf, and because I'll be working on the reporting. So yeah, and Beringia is based on Squamish and Tsleil-Waututh territory in North Vancouver, but I'm actually calling in today from Treaty 4 territory in southern Saskatchewan and the homeland of the Métis. I'm visiting some family right now who are having some health challenges, but yeah, happy to be here. It's also a beautiful day over here in Saskatchewan, early spring, so.
Nice to hear. Thanks, Laura. And Maureen.
Hi, nice to meet you, Laura. I'm actually from Saskatchewan, Treaty 4 territory. I'm Anishinaabe Soto, and I'm also Nehiyaw, which is Cree as well. I'm from the Cowessess First Nation in beautiful Coupelle Valley.
I've been there. I love it there.
Yeah, it is beautiful. They've been telling me it's beautiful weather finally back home. But
Yeah,
I've been out here for going on 8 years now. I'm with Quiquitlam First Nation, just started last month as the Director of Community Services and inherited all the reporting that has to be done for last fiscal year. So very interested in this session, and will help me get the reporting done. Thank you.
Great. All right, well, thanks everyone for sharing a little bit about yourselves. So I'll just kind of dive into a little bit of the background and the context. So I didn't really explain much about the First Nations Public Service Secretariat. We did put a link in the chat if you are interested in learning more about us, but basically our mandate is to strengthen and enhance capacity in First Nations communities and organizations on individual, organization, and nation levels. And we provide training, programs, services, and information to BC First Nations across the core public service sectors. I would like to mention that today's session, of course, is being hosted as part of the First Nations Wellbeing Fund, which was developed to support First Nations in their efforts to promote well-being, improve quality of life for all community members, and to reduce poverty at the community and our nation level. So the intent of the fund is to support local projects related to community well-being and poverty reduction, such as food security initiatives or social and cultural initiatives that support decolonization, and to also support First Nations communities to undertake planning and community engagement activities that will assist in developing a well-being plan, including how communities wish to define and measure wellness, which of course, maybe Maureen, that would be a really good introductory for you since you're coming in kind of at the later stages. So the First Nations Wellbeing Fund was established through a grant provided by the BC government as part of their poverty reduction strategy, Together BC. And the program was developed and is being administered by FNPSS. So the information in the final reports, we are extracting kind of like the raw data from there, and we're going to be providing our own wrap-up report to the province on the program overall. Of course, we always treat sensitive and confidential information in the applications as private, and we do not share that. So you can be rest assured about that. And then over to the purpose of today's session, which is basically to go through the final report and provide some kind of comments that, of course, that you can't capture when you're creating the final report, and to just really reiterate the fact that this is meant to be simple and not very cumbersome or burdensome, and kind of set you off in a good way once you do start the reporting. And then finally, at the very end of the session, there will be an opportunity to ask any questions that might come up for you. So I guess with that in mind, oh, great. So I see that Mia has popped the links to the final reports. They were provided in the initial email set out, but if you would like to pull that up on your computer screen, that's fine. Otherwise, Mia will be screen sharing, and you can just follow along that way.
Can you see that all right?
Yeah, it looks good from my perspective.
Okay.
And we'll just see, I think I see a few other nods, so that should be good. Great. So the first thing I'll point out is in capital letters there, underlined and nicely bolded, is the deadline for the report is August 31st, 2023. And providing a final report is a condition of the contribution agreement. So all funded recipients are required to provide one. I also want to mention that the project completion deadline is July 31st, 2023. So of course, you don't want to do any spending post July 31st. If we want to just scroll down to, yes, section 1, so grant recipient information. Exactly as it looks. The only thing I would point out in this section is that the contact person, we're referring to the primary project contact, and that person would have been listed in the original application as well as the contribution agreement. So if that person is still working, then please just transfer that information over. If obviously people come and go, if that has changed, that's fine as well. We're just trying to keep things consistent there. Otherwise, I would also mention just the mailing address, because we are going to be mailing checks for those final grant payments once we receive the final reports. So we want to make sure that that's all accurate. So section 2 talks about project information. Again, all this information would be contained within the contribution agreement. If you delayed starting the project, or there were some delays and the project end date has changed, the boxes are expandable, so you can put just a very short explanation as to why. It could be COVID related, could be climate emergency, or for some other reason, just to kind of flag. But we did have flexibility built in. We did ask people initially to reach out to us and ask for an extension. I think at this point it would be sufficient just to have a notation within the final report. So that's it for section 2. So we can move on to section 3. So we got activities, outcomes, and impacts report. So this section here was, we really tried to hone in on the type of information that we would be looking for when we were going to be reporting back to the province. We didn't want people to spend lots of time writing, long essays and trying to figure out what it was that we were looking for. So we spent some time and effort. For example, in section number 2, really it says max 200 words, and we do that. We just want a short blurb of what went on a lot of that information would already be contained within the original application as well as the contribution agreement. So it is sufficient to just kind of copy and paste things over. And then when you look at number 3, those elements, so A through G, that was us putting some thought into, you know, how can we simplify this process? How can we kind of help guide communities along in their reporting? So you can definitely just have a look at those. They're meant to be more guidelines, and we realize that some of the information might overlap. So please don't feel as though you have to spend time providing multiple paragraphs for each of those elements. It's basically just to kind of help you think about things in relation to your project and the project activities. Oh, we're already down the financial summary. I feel like I just keep breezing through this. So before we move on to the financial summary piece, maybe we'll just pause at this point in time. And if you have any questions around the reporting or anything you've seen in there that you'd like to ask, we can kind of go through that now.
Just to clarify, this is for the one we're looking at is for stream 1, right? Which is not the planning one.
So the stream 1 and stream 2 final reports are very similar.
Okay.
Yes. So when we scroll down to the next page, there'll be a checklist. And depending on which report you're filling out, yes, there we go. They'll pretty much look the same, except for in stream 2, you're asked to provide a copy of either a summary of the dialogue sessions, or if a plan was developed, a copy of that plan.
Sounds good.
Right. And Jara, if I've missed something, please feel free to jump in.
I think I'll reiterate the one thing that Amy said, in that this is intended to be as easy as possible and to reduce the burden as much as possible. Really just getting as much information as we need to be able to report back to the province, and also to include in some of our own communications about some of the work that FNPSS has done. So I think in section 3 or section 2, maybe it says that you're welcome to include any media clippings or stories or photos or quotes from participants or recipients. It's not required, but we definitely welcome it. So if you have anything like that, please feel free to put it in here. And again, with section 3, where she said that those questions are largely guidelines, it is just kind of to guide the thinking around what sort of information we might be looking for. So if your question, or if your answer, I'm just going to pick randomly, but if your answer to question A is the same as question D, you could just say, see question A above, or you could write a story around what it is that what the outcome was, and just kind of use these questions in section 3 as a guide. I think yesterday, I'm sure Amy will mention this, but I'll bring it up. After the reporting is completed, we'll be sending out feedback forms, because this is our first time of administering the Wellbeing Fund. It's our first time requiring reporting from others. And we are definitely looking for feedback, because if any part of this is challenging or difficult, that's not what we're aiming for. So we really want to hear any pain points that you experienced along the way. I think that's it for my comments. Thanks.
Great. Thanks, Jara, for adding those comments. And then something did come to mind. So we realized that we did have to be flexible given kind of what was going on with COVID. So if for any reason your project, the approved project activities as they're listed in the contribution agreement, if those have changed at all, that's fine, as long as the activities and the costs, as long as they were used to meet the approved project outcomes, then you're fine to kind of have some flex. So in other words, it might not look exactly as the original application. And then we did say, you know, in the original application way back when, we did say if there were going to be some significant variations, then we would want to hear about them. I think at this point in time, we would say if there's just been minor variations, just note that. We made again, we have a spot at the bottom where it says response. You can add those little bit of details. So don't feel that if it's not matching up perfectly, that's going to be an issue. And then when we pop over to the financial summary, we'll also be kind of covering eligible costs, and it's the same sort of concept, kind of jumping ahead here. So we have this financial summary and we've kind of laid out all the cost categories. So as long as, sorry, yeah, Mia's just pulling it up. So as long as the money is spent within those cost categories, that's fine. And then there were only basically 2 exceptions to that rule, which would be looking at the consultant fees, just make sure that the maximum amount, the amount for the fees don't exceed the maximum allowable. And then travel was one where it was something that had to kind of be pre-approved at the outset. So those would be the only 2 things I would say to make note of. And since we're already here, I think Jera, you mentioned yesterday, you know, we've provided this budget table, and there's 3 columns there, which is basically approved budget, actual expenditure, variance. If you refer to your contribution agreement, we've kind of already put what the approved budget items were. That's already included in the contribution agreement. So if you choose, you can actually just then fill in what the actual expenditures were and then include the variance. The other option is to just provide whatever budget it was you were working on initially. We're not saying that you're required to fill this out. This was more to just kind of keep things simple. And Jera, did you want to make any comments on the financial summary piece?
Sure. Yeah, I'll just maybe put forward a potential example about what Amy was saying about people having to pivot or change because of things that have happened in our world in the last couple of years. I think a lot of communities focused on food security. We're looking at building community gardens. So inflation costs have obviously increased significantly on almost everything in the last couple of years. So it may be that when you set out for the project, you thought that you would be able to purchase, you know, I don't know, create 15 community garden beds, and when it came to it, when it was actually time to purchase, that the costs had gone up so much you were only able to put in 10, or maybe by some stroke of luck, you had $10,000 allocated for consultant fees, but they only came in at $7,500, and so then you were able to, with that surplus, you were able to purchase actually more. I don't know, garden beds or whatever it was that you were trying to put forward. So there is a lot of flexibility. There is a lot of flexibility in there. It is just like Amy said, as long as the primary outcomes were still achieved, and as long as the money was spent within these expenditure categories. And if you have any questions or concerns about that, then please definitely feel free to reach out, and we can help guide you with that, or try and, yeah. Anyway, we'll do everything we can to make sure that it all fits. And like Amy said, you don't have to use this budget table. So if you do already have a budget table in Excel or whatever you're using to track your own budget, if it has kind of an approved budget column, your actual expenditures, and you can include a variance, you can just submit that. You don't have to recreate the wheel if it's already there.
Mm-hmm. Great. Thanks, Jera. Yeah, so hopefully, did we cover everything? I think the only page we kind of missed out on was the section 5 that talks about the final report requirements and the checklist. So it's pretty simple. It's the completed final report form, which we have supplied, and a financial summary of your choosing, whether it's the one provided or one that's already been created. And for stream two, projects only, forgot my words there, a copy of the end product. So, all right. And there we go again, nice and bold and in red, August 31st. But we will be sending out reminders ahead of time. And so there will be, opportunities to kind of reach out and ask any questions. And at any time, please feel free to reach out. That's kind of been, part of what we aim to do from the outset, is just be available to make things easy and answer questions, and hopefully make this a successful program. So with that, I guess we can probably just open it up to everyone and see if there's any additional comments or questions that you might have. Hi, Maureen. Oh, hang on, yeah. Mm-hmm.
I think everybody does that all the time.
Yeah.
I'm just wondering if this same funding will be available for this upcoming fiscal year.
Right. So we do have plans for another round. We did receive, we do know that we're going to be receiving some funding from the province. Mm-hmm. We are just working out all the details now. Okay. Yes. So it might be a few months still before, word is out.
Comes. Yeah.
Yeah. I think part of that is because it is the first time where the program is being offered, we really wanted to check in with communities and make mm-hmm. sure that is kind of meeting their needs.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Okay. And do you anticipate it to be the same kind of project and similar format, or will there be a change in what you would want projects to look like?
Mm-hmm. I would say that really depends on what comes out of the surveys or the engagement.
Okay.
If we're missing the mark, we want to know about it. And in particular, it might be things like maybe increasing the grant amount. It might be, hopefully, there was ample time to get the projects done, but we definitely want to get some feedback and then make any changes that's going to kind of make the program work for communities, because that's really what it's all about.
Right. Okay. Mm-hmm. Thank you.
Any other questions or comments?
I appreciate this session and reassuring us that that we all want to succeed, and that your team is here to support us in this, and helping reduce the barriers and to support us as we complete these projects. So I appreciate this follow-up and this opportunity to help ease my reporting anxiety, and to know that that we're all working towards the same goal. And so I appreciate this session.
Oh, thanks, Bonnie. Yeah, it's great to hear, because the idea was to just try and get something short and simple, and stay on target. So it's nice to hear those comments. So yeah, thank you.